What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Front Yard Fantasy Mock Draft Review. It's been promised, a long time coming, but we're finally getting it out today for this week's mock draft. On Tuesday, we did a Superflex Dynasty mock draft with our guest Tara at It's Tara Time on Twitter. But the one thing that made this mock draft different from our previous ones is that this one had a third round reversal in it. I don't think any of us drafting had ever played in a third round reversal league. Josh, had you?
No, I haven't.
And Scott Fishbowl is third round reversal this year. I know it's not Dynasty, it's redraft, but we thought it'd be a good idea to throw one of these drafts in there, get people used to it, get us used to it, get us practicing and seeing what these teams look like. So without further ado, we're going to go over some of our favorite teams today, talk about some picks that we really like, maybe some that we didn't so much. But the first thing I want to do is have each of us, Josh, go over our favorite team from this mock draft. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, I wanted to address the elephant in the room. I know it's going to happen in the YouTube comments. It happened when I made the pick. Yes, I drafted Trevor Lawrence second overall in a Superflex Dynasty League. That was me. And before you get the hate, I know that was the wrong pick. I understand. Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen should go above him. But Scott Fish came into the chat yesterday and defended the pick in a way saying fantasy is supposed to be fun. And I'm a big Clemson guy, and part of having fun in fantasy football is having the players that you really like on your team. So while Trevor Lawrence is probably behind them in my rankings, it's going to be fun for me to be able to have a team with him on it and to be able to cheer for one of my favorite players in the NFL. So I made the pick at 2. I just wanted to address that pick first. That way, anybody watching right away, they can come in here and hear me admit, I know that was the wrong pick. I didn't pick it because I have Trevor Lawrence ranked above those players. It's just the Clemson fan and me wanting to grab a guy that I like on my team.
And at the same time, it's not like he's going to be too far off of this value.
No, he's still a first-round pick.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would draft Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson above him. But then once we get to that point, Trevor Lawrence is quite a good option. You could consider Dak. You could consider Justin Herbert. You could consider Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson. But all these guys are good options for first-round picks. Yeah,
absolutely. Cool. Then without further ado, now let's jump into our favorite teams.
Now, no more further ado.
No more further ado. Josh, which team was your favorite in this draft?
I had a lot of trouble deciding, actually. There's quite a few really good teams. We talked about it going into this, making this video. The third round reversal seemed to kind of even out the teams a little bit. You kind of agree there?
Yeah. It was making it a lot harder to pick my favorite. I feel like the last couple mocks we've done, the first team has been my favorite in almost all of them. But this mixed it up.
I agree. And just so you know, if you guys don't know, a third round reversal, you go first round, second round snake draft, but then after the end of the second round, you go back to whoever had the last pick in the first round, and he has the first pick in the third, and you continue to snake from there on out.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Thanks for explaining that.
Without further ado, like you keep saying, Simon, I think that my favorite team here is G-Men Jays. G-Men Jays is my favorite team.
Drafting out of the 12 spot.
Drafting out of the 12 spot. His first pick was Joe Burrow, and his second pick was A.J. Brown. We just talked about Joe Burrow. I think he's pretty much in a tier right there with Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and they all got drafted early first round. G-Man J got him at the 112, which is awesome, which is great value. And then A.J. Brown, he's my favorite wide receiver. Yes, he was the first wide receiver drafted off the board in this whole draft, so I guess Jay thinks the same thing, but he's my favorite dynasty receiver. So starting out with those two guys, I think it's a really strong start.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. This was one of my favorite teams, and that start is a big reason why. I think that was value on both of those players. Like to get A.J. Brown in the second round, I know it was with the first pick of the second round, but if that's your number one overall dynasty wide receiver, which I know for you it is, and I know for Jay it is, to grab him on top of a former number one pick quarterback who showed he can play in the NFL prior to getting injured, unreal start for a Superflex league. And for those of you watching who may not know what Superflex is or haven't played in a Superflex league, just want to throw this in there because you may be looking at this draft board thinking, why the hell are there so many quarterbacks in the first round?
We're not idiots.
We're not idiots. Well, we may be, but not because of the quarterbacks getting drafted. But Superflex means there's an additional flex position on your roster, but that flex position can also be filled by a quarterback. So in most instances in Superflex League, you're starting 2 quarterbacks every single week. So the value of the quarterback position just goes through the roof in leagues like that. Sorry, just want to throw that in there. Keep on going, Josh.
No, it's a great point. And Superflex leagues, they're so much fun, people. Try to get in a Superflex league if you've never done one before. They are so much fun. I'm not going to say they're better than one quarterback, but they're better. I'm going to say it, actually. I said it. But anyway, for G-Man J's team, he was the first team to pick in the third round, the first team to experience this third round reversal, and he got Nick Chubb, who I think is a top tier fantasy running back. He doesn't catch many passes, but he's on a run first team. And I truly believe that in terms of just running back talent, putting the ball in the guy's chest and him running with the ball, Nick Chubb is the best running back in the NFL, in my opinion.
I don't want to say it because I'm a Browns fan and people accuse me of bias. But if you're having a conversation about the best pure runners in the NFL, Nick Chubb has to be a part of that conversation. Yeah. You can't have that without even saying his name. Yeah, it's nuts. His
yards per carry. It's like a yard higher than every other running back in the NFL. I think J.K. Dobbins was number 2 and he was close, but he was a rookie and he wasn't getting all the nearly as many carries. But for G-Man, he followed that up with Amari Cooper, another great receiver, great value at the last pick in the 4th round. Followed that up with Deshaun Watson. And I'm not going to get into the legal situation, but if this all gets cleared up, this is a straight up steal for Deshaun Watson, going right before Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, man, a top 5 quarterback since he's been in the league, essentially. Chase Claypool, love him, rookie last year for the Steelers. Laviska Shenault, I know Jay loves Laviska, but I love him as my 4th receiver on his team. And then Kirk Cousins, he's getting his 3rd quarterback for a Superflex league. Tyler Lockett, oh my God, the value here. Evan Ingram, I know people aren't excited, but he's still a tight end 1. Zach Moss and Melvin Gordon. This is where it really sums it up because his running backs are a little weak. In Dynasty, I'm okay with that because he can make trades happen. But he's got 2 starting running backs, Nick Chubb and Melvin Gordon, and then Zach Moss. If something happens to Devin Singletary, I absolutely love G-Man J's team. There were other teams that were very close, but Jay, you took number 1 spot in my heart.
I'm not sure there's a better trio of quarterbacks in this entire league. Like if you look at teams with 3 quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson if he plays, and then Kirk Cousins as your 3rd quarterback. Man, maybe if Z2 had drafted another quarterback with Patrick Mahomes, Ryan Tannehill, and then a 3rd, he would be up there. But of the teams that drafted 3, this
you're absolutely correct.
It's got to be the best one. And then I loved what you said about the wide receivers. He's got some proven talent, I would say, in AJ Brown. I know he's still pretty young, but we've seen it on the field. And then Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is also a proven wide receiver. I was saying this to you before the show, but people are grabbing him in the 4th round. The last pick in the 4th round is disgusting to me. He has changed his image entirely since he left Oakland and is now this consistent wide receiver, still with extreme upside, though, that we saw at the beginning of last season when Dak was still healthy. Amari Cooper was the wide receiver 1 last year before Dak got injured. I'm not calling for that.
Is Dak healthy? Is Dak healthy?
Dak is healthy.
Oh, he is.
So I'm not calling for Amari Cooper to be the wide receiver 1 in fantasy this year. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But what I'm saying is he's a very safe, consistent wide receiver with the upside to be the number 1 overall wide receiver on any given week in that Cowboys offense. Now we'll see how long he's with that Cowboys offense. I know they can cut bait after this year, but I love this team too. It was in my top 3. You got those 2 solid receivers paired with 2 young, high upside wide receivers. Chase Claypool, touchdown machine last year. We'll see if he can get his volume up a little bit this year. And then Laviska, I know Jay's in love with him down there in Jacksonville, but that should be a much improved offense. And I'd say he's probably I'm curious what Vegas has the betting favorite to lead that team in targets is next year between Chark and Visca, but
and ETN now, the other wide receiver on that team.
But Visca should be. He's got a real chance at being the number 1 receiver on Jacksonville next season.
Most definitely the most targets. I think he's going to get a lot of short area targets. Just get the ball in this guy's hands, let him work. And if he stays healthy all season, I think he's going to have a very, very good year.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I'm going to jump into my favorite team now. So my favorite team. For those of you that know me and know how I like to draft dynasty teams, this will come as no surprise to you. For those of you who do not know and maybe really value that running back position, this may be shocking to you which team's my favorite because on paper, it does look rough at the running back position to start. But like Josh said, in a dynasty startup, I'm not as worried about securing those superstar stud running backs because the wide receiver shelf life is just so much longer. You can build a solid foundation around these young wide receivers that is much harder to build around these running backs. So My favorite team is Eagle Dan FF's team, drafting out of the number 3 spot. Being early in the first round guaranteed him one of those top tier quarterbacks. So he started off with Josh Allen, and then the next 4 picks are that's why this is my favorite team. The next 4 picks. He went Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas, DJ Moore. For what I view as top 10 dynasty wide receivers in my mind, he grabbed in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. What's not to love about that? I know some of them are a little bit older, but whenever we say older, we mean 27. Know what I mean? We don't mean 30-year-old wide receivers. We mean wide receivers probably with still 3 to 4 years of elite production left. And that's probably why he got a value on guys like Michael Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins, right? Was that perceived age? I know Michael Thomas, there's a little bit more going on, but I've said it about Alvin Kamara, and I'll say it about Michael Thomas. Sean Payton is a very smart man. He's a very smart coach. Whether you like him as a person or not is a different question, but I have to trust that Sean Payton, with his lips, will get the ball into the elite playmakers' hands on his team, Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. I don't buy for a second that Michael Thomas is going to disappear because Drew Brees is gone. That's not saying his value won't drop slightly, but to take the free fall that it's taken down into the 4th round in these dynasty startups is bananas to me. Outside of that, though, his second quarterback that he showed up in the 6th round with Matthew Stafford out. Oh my gosh, the value.
Love Stafford this year. The next few years, I love Stafford on that Rams team. It's such a good situation.
Let's just look at the other quarterbacks taken right after that. It was Baker Mayfield, Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, Matt Ryan. I like Baker, but
Stafford stands out
amongst that group, right? So excellent value there. And then to follow it up with another, I don't want to say elite, that word gets thrown around too much. I've gotten in trouble for that, but another great wide receiver option in Robert Woods as his 5th wide receiver. Robert Woods is his 5th wide receiver. That is absolutely insane to me. And then Tyler Boyd is the 6th. That's the strength of this team. That's why it's my favorite. Now we will address the obvious concern, which is the running back position. But for waiting as long as he did, he grabbed Mike Davis, who is the starting running back in that Atlanta offense. I see no reason why he's not. He's not a long-term answer in Dynasty, but for year 1, Mike Davis is an excellent option. And then he drafted Tony Pollard and Kenneth Gainwell with the next 2 picks. 2 young running backs, one that we've seen behind Zeke had standalone value, even with Zeke on. And you can imagine if something happens to Zeke, if he gets injured or if Tony Pollard ends up on a new team, he seems like a starting caliber running back in the NFL.
He does.
And then Kenneth Gainwell is this high upside pick there in Philly, right? These are more players where you just need something to go right. The other thing I want to mention is we did only do 12 rounds. In a regular dynasty, there's going to be likely another 10 plus rounds of this draft. And I have to imagine Dan would continue piling up players like this, like running backs this. Alexander Madison's, maybe some more of these rookies, maybe a Trey Sermon, some of these guys that could come in and take some of that running back volume, help him succeed in that front. But also, Josh, you say it all the time, trading makes fantasy fun. He has a lot of high value. He has a lot of high value dynasty pieces on this team. That could easily be traded to improve that running back depth. So
I know we know damn well he is a trader too. He is an active trader, so I know he's going to be working the boards. He's going to be contacting people, probably trying to trade someone like Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins for just a nice package. Upgrade that running back, maybe get some draft picks. He's got a good team here.
Yep. And that being said, I'm not saying he needs to trade for this to be my favorite team. It's still my favorite team. I still love this. This is how I build my dynasty teams usually. This looks a lot like how I draft. And it's just beautiful to me. Those wide receivers are sexy. There were a couple other teams that I think we wanted to talk about, maybe not as in-depth, but we can address some of these picks. Some of the stuff I know you and I talked about it a little bit before. One of the teams that I wanted to talk about that I actually really like is Swamp Nola's team. Swamp Nola's team is fantastic to me. DK Metcalf in the 3rd round is kind of what really kicks this up a notch. That's incredible value. What was he? The 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th.
And if I remember correctly, I like Swamp's team a lot. I wrote it. He's one of my top 5 teams. And he didn't. I don't think he liked his team. He was at work yesterday when I remember him in the chat, and he was like, "Oh, this was tough, guys. Probably not doing this again." But Swamp, good job. Good job if you're watching this.
I think what knocks it up to one of my top 3 favorite teams is the value he got on running back in rounds 6 through 8. With Kareem Hunt, James Robinson, and Ronald Jones. I know we're concerned about James Robinson. That one's a lot more iffy to me. I think he should still have some fantasy value this season. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to look like. It could be beginning of the season fantasy value, and then ETN slowly takes over. It could be what they said. I don't believe Urban Meyer when he says Travis Etienne's the third down back, but maybe he's telling the truth. And James Robinson could be the guy.
James Robinson is really good.
Yeah, he's a great running back. So I don't mind him drafting a great running back in the 7th round, regardless of situation. Kareem Hunt showed he can have value whether Nick Chubb's on the field or not in that Browns offense. Like, not just value, like top 12 running back value.
Give this man a shot. Like, get rid of him, Cleveland, please. I just want to see him starting running back for a team, you know?
Kareem Hunt,
Cleveland with Chubb there.
No, Kareem Hunt was one of the main reasons I won a lot of my leagues last year, was buying into the fact that Cleveland could have 2 valuable running back assets on their team. And my opinion hasn't changed going into this season. If anything, I like both of them better this year because I think the Cleveland offense should continue to improve. And then Ronald Jones down there in Tampa Bay. Again, that's a messy situation with Leonard Fournette. I'm not worried about the mess with Keyshawn Vaughn, but he had showed flashes last year, has shown flashes in his career. He's fighting with Leonard Fournette, but again, in the 8th round, there's not many running backs that you can grab that have the kind of upside that Ronald Jones does. Anything else you wanted to say about Swamp's team?
I will say that while I love his wide receivers, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, Keenan Allen, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned it earlier. We stopped early. You know, we only did 12 rounds. He's going to get some higher upside guys lower, but yeah, that's a little concerning because I think we set this up as a starting 3 wide receivers, right?
Yep. And then you have a flex and
that
a
would be my
super
biggest worry for his team, even though I still like it a lot. If there's one other team I wanted to bring up, I think it's Anthony's over here. And I'm going to say for a win now perspective, Anthony drafted at the 10 spot. First pick, Saquon Barkley. Second pick, Tyreek Hill. First of all, love both those picks. Saquon Barkley is my number 2 running back in Dynasty. And then Tyreek Hill's my number 2 wide receiver in Dynasty. So I love both of those guys and the value that he got them at. They were drafted as the number 2 running back and number 2 wide receiver, but I still love it. And then he got Devonte Adams in the 3rd round. Say what you will about Devonte Adams, but he's proven it in the past that he can play. He can still be a top 10 receiver without Aaron Rodgers. I think he's that talented at least. So, and he's not that old yet. Austin Eckler, he's going to have a great year coming up. Would you agree, Simon?
Yeah, 100%. I think if his ADP stays where it is, he's going to be the steal of next year's drafts. People are down on him. I think they're viewing him as maybe like injury prone or something along those lines, but I don't believe that. He's a PPR monster. I'm high on Austin Eckler going into next year.
And that offense, I feel like, is just ascending. You know, it's just going to get better.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for Austin Eckler. Here's where it gets a little weird. You know, Aaron Rodgers and Zach Wilson. He needs Aaron Rodgers to play next year for this to work.
Yep.
I personally think he's going to play. Maybe it's not with Green Bay. I think it's a good chance that he still plays. If Aaron Rodgers plays, this team is set up to win now. And I'm so excited about it because he's got Daniel Jones there, who's going to be the Giants starting quarterback all year. And he runs. Yep. We know that's a fantasy cheat code, right? And then TJ Hawkinson at tight end. I love the value of TJ Hawkinson. I think, first of all, again, win now. I keep saying that. But he's going to have such a good year. Who else are they going to throw to, Simon? Who are they going to throw to in Detroit?
Gallaudet. Oh, wait. Marvin Jones.
No. I
guess TJ Hawkinson.
Yes, it's only TJ Hawkinson. Throwing Julio Jones there. He got him in the 8th round. There's a reason. He's getting older, but he's going to be good this next year, right? I think so. In redraft leagues, you're not seeing him go anywhere near this late. You know, he's going to be going in the 4th, 5th, you know, somewhere in that area, right?
And you talk about win now with this team. I think that's something people always forget with Dynasty. I think I said this on stream yesterday. Dynasty is not just about winning in 3 years. It's also even more so about winning this year right now. And people forget that. They sacrifice winning this year to set them up for success in the future. But things change so fast in the NFL. Sometimes it's better to just go for that W, go for that championship, and then figure it out. This team is set up to win this year. Like you said, the X factor is Aaron Rodgers playing. Aaron Rodgers needs to play next season, but like you said,
if he doesn't, this team it gets a little scary. I'll be honest.
Starting Zach Wilson and Daniel Jones at quarterback is going to be rough. That's going to put him at a disadvantage every single week. But Rodgers fixes that because I don't mind one of those 2 guys as your quarterback 2 each week. That's totally fine. Then the last team that I wanted to talk about, we don't have to do it all the way through, but our guest yesterday, Tara, she's on Twitter at It's Tara Time. The first 6 rounds of this draft for her, I was just watching it she was just putting together a beautiful dynasty team, and it was on theme. Something that I hated about my team was that some of the picks seem to be win now, some of the picks seem to be win later. Yeah. And whenever you don't commit to a strategy, your team can look funky and you're stuck in this purgatory. Yeah. Tara's first 6
Yeah,
picks.
I want to say real fast. The worst place you can be in dynasty is in the middle. Because that means maybe you're getting the playoffs, but you're not good enough to win anything. And then you're getting a middling draft pick. You're not getting a top tier draft pick. Go one way or the other.
Yep, I gotta say completely agree. But she started off with Kyler Murray, who she said was her dynasty quarterback 2, getting them at the 2 spot. I know that's only 2 picks later, but that makes a big difference if that's your number 2 quarterback overall to grab him at the 4. And then following that up with Cam Akers, Jamar Chase, and Travis Etienne. She is building a young foundation, running back and wide receiver. Cam Akers showed us what he's capable of at the end of last year, and I expect that to continue going into this year, especially with what I view as an improved quarterback situation for the Rams.
It's improved.
Matthew Stafford's a step up.
It's not even an opinion.
And then Jamar Chase reunited with his college quarterback in Cincinnati. I've been having trouble with how I want to rank him in redraft compared to T. Higgins. In Dynasty, though, I think it's clear. I think Jamar Chase is the more valuable asset of the Cincinnati wide receivers. His athletic profile is just so much better than T. Higgins. And don't get me wrong, T. Higgins is an incredible athlete, but Jamar Chase should be a superstar in the NFL, and she'll be able to build around Jamar Chase. And then Travis Etienne, second running back drafted to the Jacksonville Jaguars, grabbing them in the 4th round. I don't imagine he's getting drafted lower next year, unless he has a really disappointing year. James Robinson takes over. Pretty much. A 4th round for a 1st round draft capital rookie running back is kind of crazy to me. But I love that value. And then Kenny Gallaudet. This is my favorite age of wide receiver in dynasty and startup drafts. These 27-year-old, 28-year-old wide receivers that still have gas left in the tank. You can build around them for 2-3 years, but their value's falling because they're not young like the Justin Jeffersons, the Jamar Chases, the DK Metcalfs, the Calvin Ridleys. So I love the value on Kenny Gallaudet there. Even on a new team, he's a talented enough receiver that I imagine he's going to succeed immediately. And again, one more pick on Jerry Jeudy. I said it yesterday on the stream. He had drop issues last year.
I'm getting so high on Jerry Jeudy. Like every day that passes, I'm just
I don't care about the drop issues. Jeudy. He can fix the drop issues. He can. That is a fixable problem. That is something he can practice and work on. Something that people can't get better at that he does unbelievably. Like one of the best in the NFL. His route running is better than advertised. Like that was his big point coming out of college. But when you watch him last year, even in the troubles he had, he was running some of the cleanest routes in the NFL last year.
He's so smooth.
Drew Lock just couldn't hit him. So I love that core that Tara's building around. That's a beautiful start to a dynasty team.
I want to reiterate that point. Drew Lock was the problem. And maybe will continue to be a problem. We'll see. But he was the problem there for Jerry Jeudy last year. I truly believe that.
Yeah, even Teddy B, I believe, will be a step up over Drew Lock for Jerry Jeudy next year. But we'll see. And Aaron Rodgers would be a real step up.
Oh my God, you get Aaron. Aaron Rodgers getting drafted like where Michael Thomas is getting drafted. If Aaron Rodgers is there, I bet.
Yeah,
like, that's how high he jumps. I'm serious.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to just really try to calm myself if Aaron Rodgers goes to Denver about Jerry Jeudy. That's gonna just.
There's still Cortland Sutton there but I think they're both. If Aaron Rodgers goes there, they're both in for a season and a half.
Yep. And he can, although we don't see it often because Green Bay refused to give him weapons, Aaron Rodgers can support 2 wide receivers. Remember the year with Devonte Adams and Jordy Nelson? They were both.
And Randall Cobb.
Like, he can do it. They just haven't been giving him the weapons. So if you're buying into the narrative that Aaron Rodgers just locks onto one receiver, well, that's because he only had one receiver. He can spread the ball around and have multiple successful fantasy options on that team. Josh, any other teams you want to talk about before we jump, or any specific picks that stood out to you?
Kyle Pitts, round 2, second tight end off the board, right there in the middle of round 2. Wow. If there's one pick that stands out to me the most by far, it's that pick. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's a little surprising. To see Kittle go at 3.4 and Pitts at 2.7 again. Not Kittle,
Kelsey. Yeah, Kelsey.
Sorry. And then Waller at 3.2. I think I I would probably take Kelsey. Man, they're just so close. Could you take Pitts this high, Simon?
No. I'm not saying it's wrong. I am one of the least age-averse dynasty players that I know. I don't care. It depends on position, but I don't care if there's a 30-year-old tight end because they're likely still going to produce for a couple more years. I will draft Kittle, Kelsey, Waller, and probably Hawk above Pitts, but that's where that line is. It's there, which means in dynasty startup leagues, I'm not getting any Kyle Pitts.
You're definitely not.
I'm not.
I'll tell you this. I think all four of these tight ends are in the same tier for me, pretty much. And Hawk is a tier below. So I think there's no way in hell, and we were talking about this a little before we did this video. I think there's no way in hell Kyle Pitts is lower value going into next year. I think he's going to be a first round startup pick. Whew. Man, I know.
In one QB, I agree with that for sure. In Superflex or 2 quarterback leagues, I could see him being around where Kittle is. But
I was talking more 1 QB.
Yeah.
You're probably right. But like this is pretty much his ceiling though. Like, so you drive. If I could get him in the 3rd round, I feel a lot better about it. Let's just put it that way.
But if you believe in the talent, you buy into the hype, and you're not worried about seeing the product on the field first, this is where you're going to have to take Pitts.
Yeah.
That like not necessarily right here, but in that 2nd round, beginning of the 3rd round range is where you're going to have to draft him. One more thing about tight ends, Brady. Whenever we started the draft, 2nd, 3rd round, he drafted Kittle and Waller.
Oh yeah.
And I was very curious. I love going tight end early, but I have never gone double tight end early. After that, his team actually turned out very well for going double tight end early. He made up for it with some good running back value, Miles Sanders in the 4th round, and then his wide receivers are what I was most nervous about. But Cortland Sutton, we already talked about the Denver situation a little bit. Drew Lock is the problem. Cortland Sutton's a great wide receiver. DJ Chark right there next to LaVisca. That's how they're going to be drafted all offseason because we don't know who the number 1 receiver there in Jacksonville is going to be. And hopefully Trevor is able to kick that offense up a notch.
I'm just getting higher and higher on DJ Chark actually myself. I think LaVisca is going to end up with more targets probably, but DJ Chark probably with more yards and probably more touchdowns. But that's just how I'm feeling right now. They do belong in the same range.
Yep, and but Brady's team as a whole, the wide receivers they make you nervous. None of them
make me nervous.
The quarterbers make you nervous. Mac Jones, Jalen Hurts.
They're young, up and coming quarterbacks that you can get excited about.
This is a very high upside team, but the floor is very low as well. This team could go south fast.
Yeah, the rug could get pulled out real fast.
He's gonna have the advantage at tight end almost each and every week with George Kittle and Darren Waller. Likely will start both of them. One of them in the flex.
And again, trading makes fantasy fun. I'm sure there's one other team out here really do I really want to start Gerald Everett every week or
Ito Smith?
Ito Smith, Irv Smith. But Irv Smith, Tunyon. So there might be trades that could be happening pretty shortly after this draft if we were doing a real league. Yeah.
Okay, Josh, we're approaching 30 minutes on this one, so I think we've given some of these teams some time. Guys, if we didn't comment on your team and you have questions for us, if you were in this draft or if you have other questions, what we think about other picks, throw them in the comments, and I promise we'll get to them. We will answer that for you. And guys, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We go live every weekday, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, playing games, doing mock drafts. We do NFL trivia. We talk about polls. We play fantasy quiplash. And sometimes we argue about fruit or Adam Sandler movies. So it's a whole mixed bag. You'll get your fantasy knowledge. You'll get some other knowledge. You'll get a little bit of nonsense. But hitting that subscribe button helps us, and you can make sure you never miss another one of our videos or live streams again. Josh, anything you want to say before we jump off?
Hey, we said it a couple times already, but trading does make fantasy fun.
Trading does make fantasy fun, guys. We say it on the live stream, and I guess we're doing it in the videos too.
Why not? Why not, right?
Why not? Okay, we're out of here, guys. We'll see you on another time.
Yeah.